Today we're going to learn synthetic division. Synthetic division definitely has its pros and its cons. The big pro about synthetic division is that it's fairly quick to do, and it doesn't involve all of the messy x's. So with long division, we had like cycle after cycle after cycle with all these x's, and it could look really messy. Synthetic division looks very clean and orderly. It takes 3 lines of text and that's it. So for synthetic division, the thing that we are dividing by x minus 1, we want to look at the coefficients of that. The coefficients are the numbers in front. So what are the numbers in front of each of these terms? We've got 1x to the third, negative 1x squared, negative 2 in front of the x, and 8. I'm going to write those coefficients. 1, negative 1, negative 2, and 8. You do want to make sure that you aren't missing any terms. So notice we start with x to the third. We have x to the third, x squared, x, and then a number. We don't have any missing terms. You're going to draw what looks like the left side and the bottom side of a rectangle. You need to have enough space underneath this first row of text for one more row of numbers. Okay. If we are dividing by x minus 1, we are going to put a positive 1 outside of this division bar. And you may want to make a note that yes, we put the opposite of that negative 1 into the division problem. Okay. Synthetic division is a series of multiplication and addition. The nice thing about synthetic division is you don't have to deal with the subtraction that we had to deal with long division. We're going to be multiplying this number times the numbers that are going to be written underneath. Right now, do you see a number underneath?
No.
So our first step is going to be to drop down that first number. Your first step is always take whatever that first number is, drop it down. So we are going to be doing this 1 on the outside multiplied by the numbers underneath. When we multiply, I don't know if you can see that x very well, times. We are going to do 1 times 1. What is 1 times 1? 1. That number gets written up in that second row. Then we add straight down to get our next number. What is negative 1 plus 1? 0. Then we multiply. 1 times 0 is 0. Write that in that second row. And then we add straight down. Negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. Then we multiply again. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And then we add 8 plus negative 2 is 6. This last number is always your remainder. If there's no remainder, that number would be a 0. This stuff, the 1, 0, and negative 2, is going to become your answer. So we have to put the x's back in there. We started with x to the third. We divided by an x. What is x to the third divided by an x? X squared. So this first term is 1x squared, and then 0x minus 2, and our remainder is 6 over what we originally divided by. Okay, now, do you really need the 1 in front of the x squared? No. And do we really need to write this term? No. So our answer is x squared minus 2 plus 6 over x minus 1. Okay, now, just like the last time when we learned long division, the first time you saw long division, your brain was kind of like, what did I just see? And after the second or third time, the pattern started to sink in and it started to be easier. The same thing will happen with synthetic division. So let's try number 2. You should always check to see if there's any missing terms. X to the third, x squared, x, and then a number. So we're good. We're not missing anything. Use the coefficients. We've got 1, 2, -6, -9. Draw the synthetic division bar, which is the left side and the bottom side of a rectangle. If we're dividing by x minus 2, what number do I need to put? Positive 2. Drop your first number down, and then we start the process of multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So multiply 2 times -1. Sorry, did I say 2 times -1?
Yeah.
2 times 1, because that's definitely what's written on this page. 2 times 1 is 2. And then you add. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now, do you really need to draw the arrows in there? No. So if it's cleaner to not draw the arrows, you don't have to draw the arrows. 2 times 4 is 8. Add. -6 plus 8 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. -9 plus 4 is -5. -5 is your remainder. There's 2 things that are difficult about synthetic division. The first thing is just getting it set up correctly in the first place, but once you get the hang of that, that's not that bad. And then the second difficult thing is interpreting your answer. But again, once you get the hang of that, that's not that bad. We started with x to the third. We have to decrease that exponent. So this 1 is 1x squared plus 4x plus 2 minus our remainder of 5 over x minus 2. So notice the 1 became that x squared, the 4 became that 4x, the 2 became the plus 2, and the -5 is your remainder. In number 3, is there anything missing?
Yeah.
Our x squared is missing. So when we set up synthetic division, we need 2 for the x to the third, 0 for the x squared, 12 for your x, and -7. And then what number should I put on the outside? -6. Now this one you may need a calculator. The numbers get a little bit bigger. Don't freak out if the numbers get bigger. Try this one on your own and see if you can interpret your answer and write that as an answer. If you're watching the video, pause the video. It is kind of nice to have a calculator next to you. This is pretty easy to do in the calculator. So I did -6 times 2 and got -12, and then I add -12 plus 0. I don't really need to do that in my calculator, but whatever. -12 times -6 is 72, and then I do the 72 plus 12 to get 84. 84 times -6 is -504. Add that with -7, get -511. So your remainder is -511. So our answer would be 2x squared minus 12x plus 84 minus 511 over x plus 6. Okay. Now, notice we started with an x to the third term and divided by x. So our answer was 2x squared. We started with x squared. What if we started up here with like 5x squared plus 2x minus 9 divided by x minus 2? If you start with x squared, then what's your answer going to start with? Just x. So once you get to the end of your synthetic division, you would have whatever number times x plus or minus a number, and then your remainder after that. So keep in mind, whatever term you start with, your answer is going to have an exponent 1 less than what you started with. Okay? The other really nice thing about synthetic division is that you can use it to evaluate a function. So we're actually going to do number 4. I'm going to do this on the calculator first, and then I'll show you how easy this is with synthetic division. So if I do this in the calculator, I have to do 5 parentheses -3 raised to the third minus -3 raised to the second plus 13 times -3. Oops, I missed my negative. Plus 29. And I get -154. So I know the answer to this is -154. The process of entering that into the calculator and making sure you get all of the negatives, all of the parentheses, and not missing anything, there's a lot of room for error there. With synthetic division, we've got 5x to the third, -1x squared, 13x, 29. I'm not missing any terms. Now this is a little bit different. If we're plugging a number in, we are going to use exactly that number. So we are going to use the same as the number that we are evaluating for. We're not going to take the opposite. Take the opposite when you're dividing. When you're evaluating, you use the same number. All right, so -3 times 5 is -15. Add the -1 to get -16. -16 times -3 is +48. 48 plus 13 is 61. 61 times -3 is -183. And -183 plus 29 is -154. This is your answer. After plugging in -3, your answer would be -154. So if you really like this process of multiplication, addition, I think this is a lot easier for evaluating than trying to get all of those parentheses in just the right place and get the exponents in there and, oh crap, what if I have a fat finger that day and miss a key and then I've made a mistake and then my answer is wrong. So I have seen on the test people enter this in their calculator, but then also do synthetic division to check themselves, and if they get the same answer both times, then they know that they're good and they've got their answer. Do we need to try number 5, or do you feel like you got this? Got this? Okay. I am going to do the answer to number 5 and tack it onto the end of this video. So if you're watching the video, feel free to try number 5, pause the video. I'll put the answer up in just a second.